Hello, welcome to our podcast. You are what you eat. My name is Alicia Magana.
And my name is Jeanette Enriquez. Today's show is on cannibalism. So the question is, would you do it? Okay, so for me personally, I would only do it if it was by means of survival, you know?
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, because I wouldn't willingly want to kill somebody and then eat them. That feels wrong.
It is wrong. Well, morally, I think
Yeah.
it's wrong also. Because why would you kill someone if it wasn't necessary just to eat them? Not my thing.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about this ties into what we're going to be talking about today, which is called survival cannibalism. So there are quite a few cases where people have chosen to commit cannibalism because it just seemed like it was the only option.
So the first case we're going to discuss is the Darn Party. So this is kind of a popular case because it's very widely talked about. And it's about a group of people who were seeking better businesses, and they decided to go west because they're in the East Coast to California, and they thought the weather was better to grow crops. So on their journey there, they had a map writer, and he had made the way, like the trail, a path so that everybody else could follow. And like a bunch of people had followed the original path, and they'd gotten to California on time and safe. But then he just kind of decided to change up the path, which, as we know, didn't turn out so good. So on the way there, they ended up stranded in a snowstorm in Nevada, and they tried to set up camp to wait out the storm, but they didn't have enough supplies, and some of them ended up dying because they were starving, others because of the weather and it was really cold. And when people got desperate, they decided to start consuming people that were already dead. And considering the odds, half of them survived. So there's a pretty good amount that ended up surviving. Yeah.
Many account that they survived because of their choice to commit cannibalism. They believe that if they would have just stayed there seeking for other people to come rescue them without food and water, that they would have died.
I mean, they did find 2 people, but they ended up eating them.
Yeah,
so
regardless, but another survival cannibal story is the case of the Uruguayan Air Force Flight 571. It was a rugby team that was on their private jet, and they were flying to Chile for a competition. And so their pilot at the time was flying too low, to close to the earth. So they ended up hitting one of the mountains in the Andes. They ended up crashing there, so some people died on impact while others remained alive. So, according to cannibalism, due to them not having the means to survive, which included supplies like food and water.
Yeah.
So they only had a few things. They had a few chocolate bars and a few water bottles.
They had a kitchen in there because it was the private jet.
Yeah, but they had to resort to cannibalism.
And they were high schoolers too.
They were.
Yeah.
They were, which is
kind of crazy.
Which is where this whole debate comes into play, because what are we, high schoolers? So what would we do in those situations?
Yeah. And it wasn't there's just strangers on the plane. It was their friends, their teammates, some teachers and parents on there too.
And that always has to come into account, because if we were in this type of situation, would we feel like we could eat our friends?
Yeah.
If it meant survival.
Yeah.
To the thing that they necessarily didn't kill the other players. They waited for them to pass, so they first ate the people who died in the plane crash. And then if anyone died after hypothermia and they wanted to if they wanted to eat someone else, not wanted to eat someone else, but needed to eat someone else, they would wait until they died first. And the reason they gave to having to eat them is because they needed enough energy to go look for civilization to help those who were injured on the mountain. But many were scrutinized because they thought that there was enough supplies on the plane, and they thought that they just resorted to cannibalism because they were some type of monsters. And this is the way they're portrayed in the media. This case we would like to discuss is the Dominican migrants case. So this case is one more recently covered in the media. It was in 2008. So basically, this case involves people from the Dominican Republic who sailed on a boat. It was a small fishing boat with poor engines, by the way. They were looking for a better life in Puerto Rico. They were trying to get rid of like gang violence going on in the Dominican Republic, so they decided to sail to Puerto Rico. Some people on these boats paid up to $2,000 to get a seat on the boat. And mind you, this boat was very small, like I said, and the engines did not work, and there was not enough space for how many people were on the boat. It wasn't necessarily said how many people were on the boat, but there was about 5 survivors.
Mm-hmm.
So they ended up becoming stranded when their engines failed, and to survive the remaining people, the 5 remaining people decided to eat the people that had already died. So it's not like they killed the people on the boat that were already alive to eat them. They decided to eat the people who are already dead. So this is what's different from like survival cannibalism, or the cases that we're discussing, is that people didn't become savages and start eating each other.
Yeah.
They decided to eat the people who are already dead.
Yeah, it was a need.
It was a need. There you
Yeah.
go, not a want.
Yeah.
Now going into wants is another thing, and this is where crime and cannibalism come together.
Yeah.
So many may think that cannibalism is a crime, and I think so also, but in certain cases.
Yeah,
So-
like this guy, his name is Maiwis.
My was
Yeah, and this was back in
the 1990s.
the 90s, yeah. Okay, and he was, so mind you, the internet wasn't like as controlled and as strict as like right now. So I guess today this website would be considered a dark web website, and it was called Cannibal Cafe, where like a bunch of like people who had like wanted to commit cannibalism would get together and just like talk about what they wanted to do, and like I guess talk about their fantasies, right? My Wiz, he went on there and posted. He would post like videos of him like not necessarily killing a human, like not yet, but he would like get mummies and like wrap them and make it look like it was actually a human, like wrap a mummy around in like pork and make it look like it was an actual person.
Yes.
And he was like very popular, just kind of scary.
Yeah, he was looked upon like he was like the modern day influencer for those on the Cannibal Cafe website.
Yeah. And then one day he decided to post like I guess a request, it could be called. And he was looking for a guy.
He had like requirements. He was
Yeah.
like I don't remember if it said he wanted a short or tall guy, but he said like certain height, certain weight, certain eye color, certain hair color, build,
Yeah.
different types of stuff like
Oh,
that.
and he was in Germany.
Yeah,
Kinda-
it's in Germany. Kind of
Important to the
yeah,
to the story, yeah. So he posted that, and then he got like 2 people talking about it, and the thing was he wasn't gonna kill them because he wanted to. Well, he did, but he was asking for permission.
So
Like
consensual cannibalism.
Yeah, exactly. Which you only think of consent when like you're talking about like doctors or like sex or whatever, not really like cannibalism. And 2 people are like, hey, I want to do it, and then he's like, okay, look, this is what I'm gonna do. But then like at the end they like backed out, and he was like, no, that's fine, like whatever. And he would even buy the person's like bring them to his house and like have a dinner before that and talk and like be friends, I guess. And then this one guy said, hey, I'm willing to do it. So Maiwas bought the other guy's his ticket
His ticket, yeah.
and brought him to his house. And he was like, look, this is what I'm gonna do, this is how I'm gonna do it. And the guy was like, okay, yeah, sure, I'm down. And Mai was just like, "Are you sure? Like, there's no turning back?" And he's like, "Yeah, I really want to do it, but first I want like."
He had certain requests.
Yeah, he requested something also. Alicia, would you like to tell him?
So his request was, number one, he wanted to be eaten alive, so he did not want to be killed before he was eaten, and he wanted to watch Maiwez eat his private area, so he wanted Maiwez to cut off his private and eat it in front of him.
Yeah.
And in the process of doing this, he cut it off. He was eating it, but then the victim was screaming in agony,
Yeah.
and Maiwez didn't like hearing him scream. He felt bad, so he ended up killing him.
Yeah, but on his request, because he was like, "Yeah, just kill me."
Yeah, just end me now.
Yeah, and like, he wasn't just like sitting there on a bed, or like at a table, or no, he was like in a bathtub with like ice water to like numb himself. He was being numbed, and he got a lot of medication and everything, so it wouldn't be a painful process. But yeah, like Alicia said, at the end he not backed out, but decided to get killed instead of being eaten alive. And when
he was later caught by the police, and he was caught because he didn't discard the rest of the body, so the rest of the body was still in his house. And so basically, since he was in Germany, his like process of getting what's it called, convicted, was kind of off. Like the story was very very like highly followed during the time because it was the first of its time. It had to do with the internet. People were finally finding out the dangers of the internet. So since it was in Germany, they had like different policies where technically if it was consensual, it was
not allowed.
It wasn't legal per se, but it was consensual.
Yeah.
So the punishment wouldn't have been as severe if you were to have kidnapped someone and perform the act.
Yeah.
And this is the same in China too. There was
Really?
also a cannibal from China. I was watching it on like Vice the other day, but I don't remember what his name was, but it was like big in the media because he had like a really light sentence for like having like committed cannibalism, but he committed it unconsensually.
Oh.
Yeah.
So.
But he still got a light sentence for it.
No.
Exactly.
It doesn't work out like that.
Exactly.
It only works out if it's like consented.
Not saying that it's.
Not saying that like it's.
You should do it, but there's a big difference if it's consensual versus non-consensual.
Yeah. So thank you for listening to this podcast.
And yeah, so we want to know your viewpoints.
Yeah, leave it in the comments below.
Let us know. And let us know what other cases you would like for us to cover.
Yeah. Until next time.
Bye.